So there's a verse from the Master Shantideva in his introduction to the Bodhisattva's way of life, which says that in the great darkness, a night which lasts almost forever, and it's extremely dark and the sky is filled with clouds, thick clouds, so that it's incredibly dark. That once in a while there's a flash of lightning that illuminates things so that one can see what's happening. And this happens only for a moment throughout the course of this incredibly long dark night. So just like that, it is said, within the world, our merit, when we have sort of a meritorious thought, it occurs only sort of momentarily within the almost beginningless and endless dark night of samsara. And when that occurs, it's the result of the a blessing power of the Buddhas. That is, that it's through the force of the Buddhas that some kind of brief, momentary thought, which is virtuous, arises within our minds. So this is explaining basically the initial topics in the stages of the path, where we find that we have to contemplate the rarity and preciousness of attaining a human rebirth, which is endowed with all of the various qualities and free from all of the defects, which prevent us from achieving any kind of progress or even achieving a good life in the next life. And then, in addition to that, this verse indicates the fact of the type of impermanence, which is death. That is, there are multiple types of impermanence, but here this is referring, death is a form of impermanence which inevitably follows at the end of our life. So our lives are just this kind of life that we've attained at the moment is just like a flash of lightning within the incredibly long night, thick darkness of samsara. And this moment that we've achieved it right now, where we're able to give rise to some virtue, this is the result of the sort of power of the Buddhas entering into our minds. It's as if their influence has entered into our minds and caused us to give rise to this momentary virtue. However, it's the case that generally within our samsaric existence, we're overwhelmed most of the time by non-virtue, wicked sort of sinful actions or non-virtuous actions are much more powerful and heavy in terms of their influence upon us, whereas this kind of momentary instant that we have some interest and give rise to some virtue is given in the example of if you think of a night which is incredibly long and dark, that just for one moment there's a flash of light within it from lightning. That's like the power of the Buddhas entering into our minds.
Oh yeah, that in the end, and it occurs already. Do not let you be kept so quiet. Do not let you be kept. That jumped to the mark. The Jiting on a Catula Tango today. Anita, Council, oh, Trojan Lamborghini. Think that might be a corner, Koi, Yazunana, Namban, Yazunana, Nambane. There's a lot of misabi, choosing Gini, Lusebe. And it didn't come like just to cheese, Jenny. This one, I say, Jenny, that, and I saw the general doing a part of me about young Goa. 10 miles, and it, or, under Casa, let me lead them toward the Gina, and it such a new one, be Pumboji, change a lot, and it do not get Nashi and Madeba. Or tender with such a you Pumbon dig, and it Castle, Sebis, Tam, remember. What thing that may be quiet, thing that Tam may be, Sigala. And you call Jazon Nashi Channel, Jazon and number ness, a thing that Tam remember, Koi Jawala, Tam remember, Jazon Sumba. And you Jazon and number ness. Deja lost Mississippi, choosing Ginny, Lucebe, Sigala, and Deja down, Nemo Castle, Chatham Monsonji, Wanga, Pumbo Tiki, Lane Chedi, and it Lane Chedi, and it do not get naughty, and it do not bottom me by young girl in Zang. Deja lost Mrs. Oh, Mrs. Choosing Ginny, Lucebe. Didn't come like just cheese. That do not tell like Jeffy Jeff, Candidate just chigore, and it TV suji, so long to so on.
So here in the text that we're reading at the moment, and this portion of it, it doesn't explain all of the different portions of going for refuge and the causes and conditions that are necessary to go for refuge. But we can understand this from a verse that was composed by the master Dignaga, and in that he says that when we're sunk into this ocean of samsara, our bodies are devoured by sharks of desire and hatred and so forth. And when we're tormented in that kind of situation, why wouldn't we wish to obtain a refuge? So the point here is that samsara is like an ocean, which is it's almost impossible or exceedingly difficult to gauge how wide it is and how deep it is. Just like the ocean, if you look at it, you can't see the end of it and you can't see the bottom of it. So just like that, we've sunk into this ocean of samsaric existence. And within that, our bodies are devoured, or just like someone who's drowning in the ocean and whose body is being eaten by sharks. In the same way, we're sunk into the ocean of existence, and our bodies are being devoured by, our whole existence is being devoured by attachment and aversion, anger and desire and so forth. All of the various mental afflictions are tormenting us intensely. So when we contemplate and understand this situation that we've fallen into, then it's essential that we find some sort of protection, find a refuge that can protect us from this kind of horrible situation that we've fallen into.
Oh yeah, that 되게 재밌어도 되나? 아니 밥 로연바오 그때가 장은 아주 가서 가실라니 내와고 때내 용에 메가신 강라남바 탐제도 연대 탐제 된줄 봐. 아니 가대 셈시 연하니 되니라니 껴서 줘 전에 오순 거래. 와 나디 가래 순 거래 세나 저 가실라 아니 내와 탐제 때내 용에 명아와 가시냐니 내와 그 때내 용에 명아신 tendewe kansa tela ane yenden tamje denbara chuba dona junjiri tamje yang chuba se ane nyewi yenden yenden tamje onso choba se degi jesu yewe yeje de dengo ware ranji ba tamje la chowa se de o de dengo ware o kanshi la ni yewa sin dene yongye mingan sin 강라 남바 탐제도 연대 탐제 된주 봐. 세 텐데위 가사들라 아니 연대 탐제다 된바. 란지발라 저 간세 지바 탐제라 좋아. 시엔 지바 탐제라 좋아. 탑라 캐봐. 그라 투지 신분 일을 매봐 주봐. 팬다마다 지 된주 봐. 세기 오다 연대데 강라 남바 탐제도 연대 탐제 된주 봐. 오 텐데위 가사 대라 아니 레니 집이 싫어하면 남 가서 셈난 담바시이나 나 어떠니 야자수 조사데 드리니라 자수 조고래 선거하래
직제 고즈마송티
저 장아주
저
바오 기바이 와 가시라니 니와게 때내 용의 명아신세 하고서
하고서
되네 강라 남바 탐제도 연대 탐제 된줄 봐. 당이들 제세는 봐. 가대 셈시 연하니 아니 되니라니 자수도.
So then, if we find ourselves in this kind of situation where we've fallen into the ocean of existence and we're tormented by attachment and hatred and so forth, even if momentarily we find a kind of, at the moment we found ourselves in a position that we can do something about this situation and can get ourselves out of it, but if we just sort of don't utilize this opportunity that we've obtained, then we'll simply, we've sort of floated to the top of the ocean of existence, but we'll simply sink down deeper into it again next time. So in this kind of situation that we're in at the moment, it's essential that we use this to find some kind of protection, a person who's able to provide us with refuge, protection, and from this kind of terrible situation we're in. This is the sort of refuge that we should seek is explained in another verse by the master Arya Shura, and in that verse, he says that what we need to find, who is the suitable kind of refuge. This is a person, another being that has eliminated all faults from themselves, is devoid of any kind of fault, and is endowed with all of the different kinds of good qualities. Here, the good qualities, to just enumerate the basic portion of them, they have to be such that they have compassion for everyone without any kind of partiality. They have to love all other beings without discriminating, saying some are near to me, some are distant, and I don't care about them. Rather, it has to have that kind of love and compassion, which is perfect and developed for all beings without any kind of discrimination whatsoever. And then also they have to have eliminated all the faults from within themselves so that they're able to provide protection to others in a completely unerring and faultless and complete fashion.
Oh yeah, 真正인상 다谈的这个做起来的，安尼他假属于他就希望那些假属于军战，让几把他们家了戳啊，先几把他们家了，安尼教育他了开吧，我让几把他们家了做先几把了作为他了开讲，这把年纪全部没呢，安尼先几把了教没就把这把没些把一张天阳嘛一把。啊，归了你，现在他们家了出去全部你也没把酒吧。我太阳那是偏大马大就太阳酒吧，所以说他都个工作什么的那些个的。Oh yeah.
So here then, the person or other source of refuge has to be such that it's the person in this case has to be free, have freed themselves from the terrors of samsara. And likewise, they have to have understand the methods and be skilled in the means by which one can liberate other persons from the terrors of samsara. So that being the case, and then in addition to that, they have to have that impartial and perfect love and compassion, so as to be able to have the motivation to work to enable others to become free from the terrors of samsara. So in order to understand then this kind of refuge in more detail, we have to go into the qualities of the refuge in more detail.
我听这一场，他结束做完了，俺那结束这个酒，俺那看说的，几把当，台湾人我的个个话演讲，俺那他搞的酒穷的告诉演讲，俺那他就光是下把那些，每个月来多7把当，给我，俺有给我给多新的穷人，俺那点呢700的俺上的钱呐，俺那俺就东啊8都没把钱，俺就他7把演讲。 俺那让人爱上个东啊了，即行炸呢，就爱上个东啊了，即行炸吧当，台来绝壁你把，俺那工作什么了，也把一切为高呢，俺那我打看说的，几多人连你看着就穷人呀，那么工作什么了，钱也把给一些给台把钱钱，我老邻居就把给，我听这个就你参与过呢，俺那工作什么了，结束着吧当。
So then, how it is that we go for refuge, once we've identified a person or the 3 jewels in this case, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, as the appropriate refuge to protect us from the fears of samsara. here we're talking about the kinds of practices that pertain to the person of lesser scope, who is principally terrified of the suffering that they're liable to experience in the future, especially in the next life. So, in order to develop refuge, one has to have two factors within oneself. One has to have, first of all, fear of the terrible suffering of samsara, and particularly have fear of falling into a lower state of existence in which one will have to suffer intense forms of suffering. And then in addition to that, one has to have a kind of faith, which is confidence in the refuge, confidence that the refuge is able to actually provide us with the protection from the terrifying things that we fear. So those two factors, the fear and faith. And then as far as the faith side of it is concerned, this refers specifically to confidence that the three jewels are themselves, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, are themselves the actual refuge that are able to protect us from the terrors of the horrible forms of rebirth that we're liable to fall into in the next life.
Oh yeah, 아니 텐더 잠도钱네. 아니 잠지 라자 투모다 투모마이바. 아니 고저서 소소다 투모의 라자다. 아니 티나네 做치쇼데 아니 잠지 라자데 가상 쉬와 나신. 아니 랭에와 레페체와 레마샤와다 차바 취미사와다 사회 렌데레 이시지 태바 제네. 아니 게디기 란라 랑도 추신도 주바데 아니 개와 추신도 주바데 야 잠지라자 개체쇼디 말이 제인자 나마치비 가수야 내선 동안 바이 메지네 니네 군조스물라 잡으신 디봉게서 타다 주발라 점바 훈련 제바 친지로 제니가라 어느다 윤지 라렌시에데 렌데라 이些치체네 아니 방랑게 랑도그네라 수신도 주바시에데다 티주춘가 수신 말이.
Then as far as once we've identified the three jewels as the object of refuge, that they can protect us from the terrors of horrible sufferings we're liable to experience in our next life, then we have to, that itself is the initial level of going for refuge, recognizing them and relying upon them as protectors, protection from the fate of falling into the sufferings of the lower realms. Then, in addition to going for refuge, relying upon the three jewels as one's refuge, it's necessary that one engage in observe practices that are connected to this level of refuge. Here we're talking about the refuge as it pertains to the person of smaller scope, who is concerned primarily with what's going to happen to them in the next life. And in order to practice one's refuge in this context, first one has to understand the karma and its results, and this we've already gone over previously, where it's understanding that karma is definite, that if you create an action, you'll experience the result of it, that actions once created, the results of them will expand or increase, that if it's impossible to come into contact with the experience of an action that oneself has not created, that results from an action. If you haven't created the result, you can't experience. If you have not created the cause, the action, you cannot experience the result of that kind of action. And then finally, that any action that you perform, karma that you create, will necessarily produce a result in the future. Those four aspects of karma, you have to understand them. And then based upon that understanding and conviction that is the case, then you observe the 10 basic forms of ethical conduct, the 10 practices that we've gone over previously, avoidance of the 10 non-virtues.
Oh yeah, 다 된다 쉬워 나신 이제 다다 내 신점에 다가가는 레샤. 그러봐. 다 개회 내지 대부 세대 다 도대 충만이 공도 시아바기 메게베 내지 대부 대다래 너봐. 어다 어도바 충하지라. 남이 미게 세자 대다게 남이 잡아 강해봐. 그와 타니 탐자를 대부터니 도대 충 어다 공도 시아바기 메게베 내지 남이 대부대라. 아니 미게와 가소리 치중기 야와 이다 텐드레 개와당 아니 균등이 저 샤바 대다기 아나미 저 강자바 텔레 현도 개외라람 타라니 남이 저 대다 도데 아니 오세가나 개외래 도바 컨디스레 사나 개외 미게외래라 도제 소남지래 사나 아니 된로 가소리 데빌하다 미게 미오일레사소나 아니 감고마기 아니 고미 아게발레 어떻게 숨을하래 어디서 현도 개별레람 달라니 남이 되고더니 도대 중라세 균디지 되고야 안다 체체rin 와라서 균디도 답이 되고야 도대 중화 시와 차오 어다 공도 미게벨레 되고 시와 되란 도대 중화 야 또나 랭에와당 태체와당 마체와당 메체와당 체와 취미세와 뒤네 아니 따디다게 되어서봐 차오
So to review then the verse 19, it says, such are widely known to be the ripened results of these actions which are called the non-virtues. For all of the virtuous actions, there are the opposite effects. So this is saying then that up above we've enumerated the non-virtues, different forms of non-virtuous action, and that they have sort of the ripened effect or the maturation effect of such non-virtue is actual rebirth in the lower realms of existence. And then in terms of the effects which are accord with the cause, when, for example, from killing when it has a short life, even if one is born, say, as a human being subsequently, one's life will be short as the concordant effect of the action of killing that you created previously in a previous life. And so, but then with respect to the virtuous actions, the virtuous actions have the contrary sorts of effects. So that if you avoid non-virtue, which the avoidance or abstention from non-virtue, that kind of ethical discipline is itself a virtuous action. So abstention from non-virtue produces, in terms of its maturation effects, rebirth, actual rebirths in high states of existence, such as a god or a human being, human life. And then in terms of the effects that accord with the cause, for example, avoiding killing other beings will cause you to have a long life and so forth. All of essentially the concordant effects are the opposites of the concordant effect of virtue is the opposite of the concordant effect of non-virtue. And that applies across the board in all 10 of these kinds of non-virtues and the effects that they have that we listed above. Then there's a different kind of karma, which is referred to as unwavering karma or unchangeable karma, which refers to special kinds of actions that are determined to have results, and that has such as, for example, if you develop special kinds of meditative concentration, it's determined that you'll be reborn in an upper realm of existence through meditative concentration. Or on the negative side, if one performs special kinds of unvarying heavy negative karmas, one will immediately be reborn into one of the lower realms of existence as well. So that covers basically the concordant effect and the maturation effect of actions, both virtuous and non-virtuous, and then that the virtuous effects of virtue are the opposites of the effects of non-virtue. And then it says in the commentary here that it's, in brief, one should understand that one should carefully contemplate the meaning of karma, in that karma is definite, it increases in its effect, that one won't experience the result of that which you have not created, and that which you have created has definitely has results. These four topics should be carefully contemplated.
Oh yeah, that is oh, teacher, and go out and make it work. You just also shepherd. 아니 차다 세단 때문에 대제량이 몇개 와 마자시 세단 때문에 대제량이 개와 인세가라 아니 대자지 개바 세단 그 개바 때문에 개바기 내야되라 아니 몇개 위래 아니 가서래 때문에 봐서가 세단 매바다 때문에 매바다 다 대자 매바서 마자바다 세단 매바다 때문에 매바기 개비 개외 내야되라 아니 개비 내야되라 몇개 가서 개와시기 와래 자와라 두순도와 다디 제와선데 가라 대자단 세단단 때문에 개비 룡하기 내니 몇개 와고 차단 모습이 개비 룡하기 내서나 룡하기 내라 아니다 수전 동계지당 안에 수전 많이 말씀주 선바 동계지기 배나 소제비 내기 소제비 내가기 소제바기 룡하기 같이 차와 제비 내가기 아니 차와 대단 뒤념도 주비 심주 선바라 아니 룡하기 레스 동계지 레라 선바 동계 양한테 레섬제 메제바 수전 동계이나 차와 대단 뒤념도 주비 아니 룡하기 리치 류남 리치 입수돼 전에 수완하신 저거 가서 류지 넘버 리치다 리치 마임바 수전 바래 텐라와데 레스던 게 이유비나네 다저 탄주외 수전 되고 하래 수전 수전 요하래 다칸 인상 어때모데 개비 룡하기 레니 미가오
So then to review again the verse 20, it says that the greed, hatred, and confusion and the karma that arises from them are non-virtuous. Non-greed, non-hatred, and non-confusion and the karma that arises from them are virtuous. So this is an explanation of the cause and effect relationship, the basic causality of virtue and non-virtue. So here, desire or desire itself, hatred itself, ignorant or confusion itself, and specifically here it's saying that the karma that is physical and verbal karmas that are generated or produced from desire, hatred, and confusion, those actions are themselves non-virtuous. Here, action is understood as having sort of two dimensions. Action can be sort of the external, visible actions that say a person is performing with their body, physical or verbal activities that one can that are observable, and then it's also said that. And then there's also the internal aspect of this, the action, which is the intention or mental activity that is motivating and causing the physical and verbal activity. And then also there's an aspect of karma which even physical and verbal activity, there's a perceptible as well as an imperceptible dimension to this. This gets into questions that different philosophical systems have differing views about this. The Vaibhashika and Prasangika Madhyamika system both accept the existence of what is called imperceptible, but nevertheless physical, verbal, and bodily activity. So that is saying here then that the activities, physical and bodily and verbal actions that we produce through or out of desire, hatred, and confusion are all necessarily non-virtuous.
Oh yeah. 되자 세단 때문 당 세베 당자 되기 아니 독순보대 되자다 세단다 때문 순보대 원이지 미겨와. 세단데 미겨와다 원이지 미겨와 니가 연마체. 때문다 되자니오데 원이지 미겨와 연장 미겨와 마인바래. 그러와 미겨와 가래서나 되자단 때문이 감광을 요하래. 감광은 감광미세되지 미겨와 명인바래. 고마탐자 루마땡 소아나시잖아요. 어디 원이지 미겨와 땡 두심바래.
라 강고말
감광만이라 아니 차담모순게 나네 가래 요하래서나 차바당 마르바니 요하래. 되자다 마르바니 뭐바니 와 세단 매바 세단 매바 귀신의 길렘바 인장 아니 never chevi shikuti me aimba tingi ji leba inzang de inzang ngoni ji mi ge wa sa de jia dang xi de mo ni wo de ngoni ji mi ge wa ji mi ge wa ma yin su du su
ngoni ki mi ge wa yin mi ge wa ma yin
mi ge wa yin na kong na me ba ji gu wa de kong ma su kong ma ke de
ale di
ja
ja go zu ma so it's do you get that? I sort of understand it, but 하고 봐서.
그래서 가려 고마.
개와당 ngoniki마
미개와당 ngoni 미가 왜 쳐봐샤. 가려에서는 ngoni 미개와 세대 차단 모습 순간 ngoni 미개와 인스 미개와 말에 미개와라 망보야래. ngoni 미개와 꾀롱게 미개와 수요하래. 와 어 인자다 ngoni 미개와 인자 미개와 말에 미개와대 감고만에 와 말에 데 매우 군장 가래서나 띵이 진지 lem바 인장 내버 쳐와 그 시구디 와 말에
레다
야 뭐 쳐졌다 제도에
뒤송 ngoni migewa tang migewa ngoni gewa yana migewa yimpe makyap ngoni gewa yana
ngoni migewa 시다
ngoni migewa
이나이 ngoni migewa 된다 mige와를 gewa 임에 태그 말이야 좋아 제바시라 요와리 된다 mige와를 gewa 임에 맞았어 ngoni mige와를 migewa 인과 말에 나는 호흡수 주시야 오나
so here there's
된다고 두스 랍당 되자당 마르바니오데 ngoni mige와레 와 코 미게위래 그 군원 지교와라 ngoni mige와레 미게와 마레스 미게와 마유 진장 가래 미게와 이나 감코네 매바지고 거래 감코마나
그래서 강공말라 롱멘텐요래
감코마나 아니 대 미게와 요마 세당 요마레 세당 미게와 민장 아니 세당 감코마네 요마레 매와데 가래에서는 네버 체비 시구디 요마레스 랑기시 라달라 네버 체소 오 가상 시험인바 오 디시 네버 체비 시구디 요마레스 네버 체비 시구 가상 랍 침바인바 달라 네버 체소 체도 체버리 주로 다게 자월라 네버 체소 체도 체버 주로 아니 다게 달라 팬다소 다소 아니 다버 체도 다버 주로 저 팅기 네버 집이 시구디와 말했어.
Okay, there's a technical question here about the relationship among the three poisons here of desire, hatred, and confusion. It says here that in the basic text, there's an additional word, or a word that says it's "and," translated into English, and this word shows that the three. It says here in the commentary that the three poisons, that is desire, hatred, and ignorance, are naturally non-virtuous. And not only that, the commentary continues, the karma that is created by those, that is produced by those non-virtues, by those three poisons, is non-virtuous as well. So it's essentially saying that these attitudes or mental states of attachment, desire, hatred, and confusion, three poisons, are themselves naturally non-virtuous, and then the karma that's created by them is non-virtuous as well. However, there's a technical point in when you're differentiating the sort of gradations of, say, virtue or non-virtue in this case, as to whether something is sort of naturally non-virtuous. Here, one would say that desire and ignorance are naturally non-virtuous, because one finds these exist within the upper realms as well, the higher realms of existence above the desire realm. But there's no hatred, or hatred is predicated or based upon the kind of thought that we discussed yesterday, where you identify someone as an enemy and you say, that person hurt me in the past, they're hurting me now, they're going to hurt me in the future, and then you develop that animosity towards them. So they don't, in the upper realms of existence, the so-called form and formless realms, there's no hatred like that. Therefore, one doesn't say that, if I got that right, hatred is not. Say that again? Okay. Okay, yeah, I'm totally not getting this, but excuse me. There's the problem here is that there's you could say something is non-virtuous, but it's not naturally non-virtuous. Is that right, or is it the opposite of that?
So. That's mother. Sedang 밑에 지금 저는 놓자도요. 세당 미겨와세.
세당 미겨와체.
맞아봐. 가서 되자당 말을 어디? 원이지 미겨와 말이.
알레
근데 있잖아. 와. 괜히 감 고만해요. 아래. 말을 받아 되자니 어디 감 고만해요. 아래. 예당 원이지 미겨와 마사 가서 미겨와래. 참 원이지 미겨와래데 미겨와 말해체 세당데 원이지 미겨와다 미겨와 니가래체.
Okay, so the basic statement there is that anger is both naturally non-virtuous as well as being non-virtuous, whereas the other two, desire and confusion, are say that what are, are not considered non-virtuous, but are naturally non-virtuous. Okay.
강 고모라 째와 렌디 간라 렌뉴게 째고래 렌뉴게 째발라 째지게 토면 말이 바고아래 아니 세바다 렘바 실랭기 세다와에 세바 렘바 고고아래 되자다 말이 바 강고만에 요아체 세당 мя체. So
the point here is which the actual intent of it, or the implication of it, to be honest, it escapes me personally. But is that in the upper realms, you have to, necessarily there is what confusion and desire, because to be reborn there, you have to have those mental factors existing within your mind for rebirth to take place. But within those upper realms of existence, there's no, what was called hatred here, or anger. So therefore, that's completely absent from these upper realms of existence. So there we would say that in the upper realms, there is, and how to complete this? What? 강고마라 고니키
강고마라 되자 요아레 말이 봐
desire in the higher upper realms.
이니가 오니지 미가와레스 미가와 마레스.
So yeah, here, I mean, it's just, there's a verbal thing going on that is escaping me, kind of. They're sort of like, they're naturally non-virtuous, but they're not non-virtuous. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think, yeah.
Yeah. This one.
So here it's saying that anger is, because it's absent from the upper realms, it's not present at all. However, the other two, because they're necessary for rebirth in the upper realms, they are naturally non-virtuous. But they're not called non-virtue. They're not given that name.
Oh, yeah, that. Okay. That is it. Maja Shetan de Mum de Tejele de Gawain said de Simju Macha Bata. Shetan Mebata, de Mum Mebede, and they take Gewetawa. Moniji Gawachua Mase. T. Gibilian Giletian, and a Gawari. I am Tajina Shiche. Yeah.
So then here, regarding the virtue, the root of virtue, or which is absence of attachment, or absence of desire, absence of hatred, absence of, or lack of confusion. These are naturally virtuous. These roots, called roots of virtue, they're actually mental factors, or they're sort of states of mind, one could say. These are, not only are they naturally virtuous, but the bodily and verbal actions which are produced by those are also virtuous.
Oh yeah, that he gave me do so shabbat chair. And that there was also shabbat. Mike leg Dawood, Anna Down Gavellegi Dawutella, Mike Walla Dunga John teaching Andro Tamjato. Gela Dendo Tamjata, they were going to Dawata. So that Mike was Chevala, Dawood Dungatang, Annie teaching, and then Asongi, Nandi and Drawatiate. Gela Dendo Tamjata, they were going to Dawa, say Gala Gavella, Sonam down. The way there is one of the son of Mewilani to take never is on, and it dendro tamjeta, Seta, Rawa, dendro Hami, the Bill Hamida, and it's Susu Mikilami, son of mine be son of Casa Mewileg, or Tesungori. That's what they chain. Let me give Walani, dendro tang. Then make a wallata, make a valley, dendro tang, Andrew Dunga Kunchuna, make a wally. Was what a make a wallani, Male make a wally, dendro dang an zui dunga gui chung la dendro dang an zui ni ge na ne dendri dunga gui chung ti shun la nami ji de bu ngan zui tham che to ge we le ni nami ji de bu dendro tham che tang ani zambulin la so wa ki che cha kam yang dang yang du ji wi che cha ki da ge wa dewi le sa du kana ani tenen de wa ju di ge wa na ge wa den de ge wa le de la ani yang dang yang du ji wi che cha ki ge wa gun de de wa chung we ani le ya du sam da de wa chung we sin.
So here then the next verse is 21, which says, from non-virtue comes suffering, likewise all negative rebirths. From virtue comes all positive rebirths and the happiness within all births. So here, this is showing that non-virtue produces all forms of suffering, as well as the actual lives within which that suffering occurs. So the entirety of the lower realms of existence, undesirable or evil destinies of existence, arise from non-virtue, and then from virtue, all of the happy forms of existence, good destinies within existence, within the world, arise, as well as all of the various forms of happiness that occur within those sorts of birth. So here, with respect to, well, first in terms of the non-virtuous karma, the commentary says that non-virtuous karma produces so non-virtuous karma produces suffering that's experienced, of course, in the lower realms of existence, the undesirable destinies within samsaric existence, but also even within the upper realms of existence, any kind of suffering that one experiences comes from non-virtue as well. And then likewise, in terms of the resultant, the maturation result of non-virtue, it produces the evil destinies or lower realms of existence themselves, those forms of life. And then from virtuous karma, the maturational result of that is the entirety of the desirable or happy destinies within the upper realms of existence. And then one can also talk about the different forms of life within the upper realms of existence, such as rebirth as a human or a person within the Jambudvipa, like where we're living, or one can also speak in terms of the happy kinds of existence that one is born into, positive forms of existence that one is born into over and over again as the result of virtue in that way. All of this arises from virtue. Then within the virtuous karma too, you can augment that or include within that what is called unwavering karma, because that unwavering karma of meditative concentration and so forth, forms of it produce rebirth within the higher realms of existence, the physical and non-physical forms of existence above the desire realm.
Oh yeah. Kasa kewa kundu dewa ta chuwe lende lebar samla ngandi ju joba ju goba ta denji ju juba la beba chawo chan de na so wa na shi chan da ulu kyang karo rabdu chasin changwa rabdu chasin changwa yi nyawa ni ma jixin chen nyawa ni ma rabdu chawa sa chawe dunga ke nyawe chanya da chanya ge dunga da chanya ge dunga rabdu chasin changwa yi nyawa ni ma jixin chen zhegum ta ge riba yi ida ta nya chenba cha zhewa da gomba da tingdi dunga ge yani ka so re nyam li ribam li ba gamba ki o teda ge ida ge dunga tiang 배님아 지시랑 대를 깨비냠도네 태고레스 몽배동아 랍사웨 람마웨 텐로 다장 참바차 렌시 띠모비 아니 동아게 녀와게 아니 텐저게도 특히 동아들이야 참고레스.
So then it says, therefore, having considered all of the above in this verse and the explanation of it, that that virtue, non-virtue produces all of the evil destinies within samsara, and all of the suffering that occurs within them, as well as the suffering that occurs even in the upper desirable destinies, happy destinies within samsara. That virtue, non-virtue gives rise to all forms of suffering, and that all forms of happiness, in terms of both the lives that one has, positive, happy kinds of lives that one can obtain, as well as all of the experience of happiness that one has within those lives arises from virtue. Then one should, the commentary says here, very carefully consider the relationship between karma and its results. One should contemplate that, meditate upon that, and make whatever effort one can, strive in all ways to stop creating the cause of the evil destinies, and to do whatever one can to accomplish the cause of the virtuous, the happy destinies of existence. And here, there's another verse by the Master Nagarjuna that says, in order to do this, one should think every day, initially, of and constantly think about the sufferings of the evil destinies. That if you should meditate and contemplate on the sufferings that are experienced in hell, the various forms of hell. In the hot hells, one's body is incinerated constantly, and one burns in a terrible way. Or in the cold hells, when it freezes and experiences intense cold for a vast period of time. Then with respect to the pretas, so-called hungry ghosts, then those beings experience their bodies being desiccated by hunger and afflicted with intense hunger and thirst, and having to wander around, or even their bodies are sort of flame out of their thirst. Then the animals, if we think about how they are afflicted by ignorance, kind of confusion, and have to suffer as a result of that, we should think about those sufferings and the karmic relationships that exist between the non-virtuous actions we create and those sorts of experiences that we are subject to.
Oh yeah, that chani, right? Mombe dunga, jamnewi tendro daja temba chas. That dunga chani, dunga mite baranja so yoba yenang, jeud ane nyamba ida cha tendro ki dunga teta mejena, ane teta ke jude bangko wa yenjang. Teju jing, deju, ane deju 가서 제세에 들다 니요라서 다 대주 줍선 전에야 대주 제신 대주 줍 차장 꼬제기도 아니 대중아 대다 제비 아니 주 대다 제바데 방과 와탕 된로 제와기 아니 주 대다 된로 3일 제와기 주 대다 된로 제비 주 대다 아니 줍고 그래.
So then the verse continues that we need to think about this situation, the sufferings of heat and cold and so forth, the rest of them that we've listed there, and think about how they arise from the specific causes that give rise to them. And then once you've contemplated the actual condition of the suffering, and then one thinks about how that arises for oneself through specific causes, then one should do whatever one, by all means available to one, one should stop producing the cause for them arising, And one 대규 drupdan.
대주 재신 대주 줍. 대주 줍. 안저래.
One should
안저 제와게 주대 제바데 방와당. 안저 제와게 주대 안주바.
So one should do what everything that one has, by all means available to one. We should stop creating the cause that produces those kinds of experiences of suffering, and likewise do whatever we have, whatever we can, to accomplish the to produce the causes that will give rise to happiness for us in the future.
대주고 되라 제마 잠리 미일이 대도 뒤에서 먼저 이제 아랍도 점시 제바 차 전에 오승화래 제마 세가나 아니 배치 아니 잠불림비 미일이된 아니 어리 현래 쳐봐도 파바게 레지 사바당 아직 컨트롤된 아니 체질류지라 상제바 그때 쳐봐제 된지 톱이 뒤되라 제마 잠니 미리 대도 뒤서 안주죠 대토비 안주죠 아니 배 로이 드림데 랍도 드림데 제바데 방와차고래
Then we should further think that at this moment we've obtained an excellent human body, human life. This human life in this kind of world that we're in at the moment is endowed with special kinds of qualities. It's composed of the 6 elements, and this kind of life is special in that within having this kind of body, this kind of life, it's possible for us to actualize the perfect awakening of Buddhahood in this very life. But even if that's not possible, many other things, we can use this for achieving all kinds of higher objectives. And in this kind of situation that we find ourselves in at this moment, which is the result of a great deal of work towards virtue that we created in the past, it's essential that we don't waste this life and be obscured by la genti seti topne.
제마 잠리 미리 대도 뒤서 안주 뒤도 랍도 점시 제바차
We should make every kind of effort that we can to avoid creating the cause for being reborn into the evil destinies, the lower realms of existence.
오야 대안지 주고바다 된지 주주발라 배바차오 세다 지바차 되니 요데
So this has the same meaning as previous verse, which said we should do whatever this opportunity that we have, do whatever we can to stop creating the causes of the lower realms of existence, the evil destinies, and do whatever we can to create the cause for rebirth into the higher forms of existence, the good destinies.
오야 다니와 지다 냠솔라위 추테라 예당 류당 아게래 메거근란 도차신 게라 다도 주자와 최대 넘버 숨도 세 송도다 와 어디 가서래 넘버 숨도 세 예당 류당 세 이지권에 아니 이지래 류지래 아게래 어때라야 안에다 개미게 니여자 미게 바퀴 이 아니 납선내선라 도바 리 아니 소제발라 소와게 아니 리길레나 바스 못해라 도바 아 뒤에 참아라 대다라 도데 아니 도바 차신 대다 빵와게 아니 개와라 다도 주바 차와 최대 넘버 숨세 가나 아니 융하기
So then the next verse explains how it is that one should practice so as to achieve this objective of avoiding creating the cause of the lower realms and creating the cause for rebirth in the higher realms of existence. And this verse reads as follows in 22.
ngay di nyam de xia hu nyam de chen ya zao de wo de ma bu xi ran me du den de zawa de chen da de xia te da re lian de sam ne da lian de lian ka sa lian de ji sam ba da che da de sam ba te da sam ne ani yi dang lu dang nga ge ni ani mi ge wo gui lan do ba cha xin da du ani lu lu nga ge ani mi ge wa te da pong wa ge 아니 괴와기라이라 다도 주발 차오 나르 셰비 미기비 아니 가 나르 셰바게 주도 안 도비체 죽습니다 아니 주비체 숨 제외가라 안 주루데 셰네 도바 제외 쳐남나 데니 배 룡하게 무시 마세 꾸론자야 마슈바 꾸론자네 도바 차고래 대 소제바 차원에 셈자면 미셔바 소제바 길래 무시 미셔바 마세 소제바 차원에 꾸론자면 마슈바가 아 돈네 아니 고슴지 체 넘바 숨도 돼 제가 룡하게 넘바 숨도 돼봐
So the verse here is number 22, and in the first line, it needs to be edited or revised to say threefold, to accord with the commentary we're reading here. It says, to read it that way, it says, this Dharma is considered to be threefold. One should not engage in non-virtue through mind, body, or speech, but one should always engage in virtue through those three. So here, if we take it as threefold, it's referring to the three mental, bodily, and verbal activities, and those are each can either be virtuous or non-virtuous. So here, then, out of the actions that we perform actions, karma, either mentally or physically with our bodies or verbally, and then. So it says here that one should abstain from all forms of non-virtuous action of body, speech, and mind, and we should constantly engage in virtue in the same way through our body, speech, with our bodies, with our speech, and with our minds. And thus, this Dharma is explained as being threefold, meaning that it's either virtuous or non-virtuous in those three ways, using the three doors of action. And then the commentary itself says, thus, having carefully thought about karma and its results, then one should do whatever one can to abstain from all forms of non-virtue, whether mentally, physically with your body, or verbally. And one should always engage in virtue. And then this is explained as previously explained, where we went above through the 16 practices, which the 13 which are to be avoided and the 3 which are to be engaged in. Through those, from among those, and having understood those, especially the 13 practices that are to be avoided, we should restrain ourselves, even in terms of our motivation, from engaging in those dharmas or practices that are to be abstained from. So here, this is pointing out that it's not enough simply to avoid the actions themselves, but the practice here really also extends to avoiding even developing the motivation. There's a distinction between actually performing an action, doing the action, and the motivation of it. The motivation itself is a kind of action, so a subtler prior form of it, so one should restrain oneself even from that. And so therefore one should here, in this context, avoid the practice, the dharmas or practices that are to be avoided by means of the 3 doors of body, speech, and mind.
Oh yeah, that is that 다 냠솔라비 데부텔라 가져와래 세가나 여기다 나샤바기 아니 최주루고 냠솔라비 데부텔라 가져와래 세나 데부라 최디냐와 이다당 tenrotala namdo shin hada meyen nando do deba jasi jewa top segi oda tegi chudi sedi ngar sheba gi ani gasore chejuju jiwa o chejuju budi chudi ani tela tene mega jubong da dobi dobada jubi chudim teda nyamso lambala tene 냐와다 이다다 던져타라 마게바 대다게 개발해 남바 조신 데벨 하당 아니다 레데 아니 가소레 소남기 레크 에빌 함이 계제기 레데 다시 시와나세 소남기 레레 와 데빌 하다 미다도 초와 스민 남바 젠지 데비 바 가서 데바레 께네 데빌 하다도 소남기 레게 데빌 하다 미다도 께네 초스빈 남바jen지 데비 피숨 초와 초스비 내바jen지 데비 바 피숨 초와 세가라 아니 대화라 로쳐봐 초스바 세나 초완 대화 심바 마임바세나 동아 파마세나 다녀면서가라 이다 리시코지 초스바냐와 이시코지 초스바냐와시 요아레 와 대화당 미 나도 코줄라 소와 콜리지 자워라 소비 게리 게와 토바 주와 오다 야기 요 도제 주루부티
So then the next verse and the first half of the following verse explain the results of practicing this dharma here. And this is verse 23 as well as the first half of verse 24. Through this dharma, one is freed from rebirth as a hell being, hungry ghost, or animal. As a human or celestial being, one obtains all happiness, glory, and sovereignty. So we'll explain that first, and before turning to the next verse. So here it says that this dharma, which has been previously explained, which is the 16 practices, 16 dharmas, the 13 to be avoided and the 3 to be taken up and actualized. Then by means of this dharma, one becomes, it says, liberated from the hells and the animal realms. One is liberated from those states. That means by means of this, one won't have to take rebirth within these lower realms of existence. And then also within as a human or as a god of the desire realm, it says, will by means of this dharma practice, will obtain the most excellent kind of happiness, splendid forms of happiness, which are essentially pleasant experiences, pleasant sensations within the human and the realm of the desire realm gods. Here, where it says pleasant sensations, this is referring to both physical and mental pleasant sensations, another name for another way of talking about happiness. And so we'll obtain the most splendid forms of excellent pleasant sensations in these realms of human realm and the desire God realm. And then within the human realm itself specifically, one will achieve birth as, for example, as a king who is able to govern the entire world. That sort of result arises.
Oh yeah. 대바 자세 자보 톱 개와 톱 세. 3년 참미 수면이 창소 대화 용화 체 세가나다 가르송 거래서나 대양 가서 수다 수면 3년 참미 수면이 창소 대화 영화 제시가라 딱 감 숨진 나네 대비 삼리 게디 단대치체 다수 감 고마 수다 수메라 게데라 송고래 대마세스 다 되바기 아니 코주기 자올라서 토바주와 대마세 아니 삼대세가나 주님 주기 삼대세나 아니 삼대세나 삼대 담보니와 숨바 시와 다 데레레라야 내세가라 수금 내리 주디요 말에 대다 제제기 아니 편지 개외 내라 아니 삼대기 념주 내도세다 조지 아니 루제라 아니 삼대기 응시 주님 그 삼대 코에 깨와듯이 고미 깨와듯이 주치기 주님 저기 삼대 시당 삼대 담보니와 숨바기 주님 저기 내도당 편지 내도당 주정의 시당 아니 인제 참매라 소와게 참매바 시당 어때 달았대네 아니 가소리 삼대 시대 삼대 시란네 주디 와라 대다도 깨네 라랑게 안에 대화게 대화를 제 대신도 수매되라 나가타야 남시타 제암에 시제세 가라 대라양 안에 균형적 수매 균형적 편제당 양 수매 균형이 여봐야자 수매 권반이 아니다 수매기 안에 가소래 내시라 나가타야 남시타 제암에 시제라서 게 대인자다 참발라 소비트 이나 라랑 참발라 소비트 대화 영화 체스 나 대화 대라림바 마보 요아리 다네 대화 영화 체스 야나 삼대소 치주주 권비 저용 오셔도 다 삼대소 치주주 권비 저용 오야 셔도 어때서
So then the first part of the first half of the verse 24 explains additional results of happiness, pleasure and pleasurable sensations and so forth that one experiences in the upper realms of existence. Up to this point in the verse, we've spoken of the experiences that humans and the gods of the desire realm experience, the pleasant sensations and so forth in those lives. And however, this kind of Dharma practice also gives rise to the experiences of happiness and pleasure and so forth in the upper realms of existence, the non-physical realms of existence. It's called the form and formless realms of existence, or we could say the physical and non-physical realms of existence that are above the desire realm. And so here it says, and through this dharma, one experiences concentrations, the immeasurables, and the formless absorptions. These are different types of meditative absorption, meditative concentration, and the results that arise from them, rebirth in these states of existence. And then the pleasure of Brahma and so forth. One experiences that, and one can enumerate multiple different forms of pleasurable sensations and experience that one has in these upper realms of existence. So in the commentary here, it says specifically that not only does one through the practice of this Dharma, does one obtain the pleasurable experiences that one has as a human, such as being a universal emperor, or in the pleasurable, pleasant sensations of being born in as a desire realm god, but it also functions. This Dharma practice can function as a cause for rebirth in the four meditative absorptions of the form realm or non-physical, the physical realm of existence. And there's four different gradations of these meditative absorptions. And then there's the four immeasurable, measureless states of absorption. And then there's the four non-physical states of meditative absorption in the non-physical realm. through meditating on or cultivating those, they function as causes for rebirth into those states of existence. But this Dharma that's mentioned here then serves as the cause for one's experience as of the happiness of being born as like the god Brahma, who's in the form realm of existence, not the physical realm of existence. There's another way of reading this, which is that we can say that the verse here is referring to the nature of the result from meditating upon and developing these 16 practices, and that it's the result of that can be then these meditative absorptions themselves, or read it as the experiences within the absorptions.
Oh yeah, that digi enjeki when you say that jewa shesane that when the junjek ten duwa de la. 대당 원디 체대당 대인제부 도티바고 세가나 아니 원디 류된 되게다 대당 원디 체대당 세가 가상 다달에 마부터 대당 아래 셔바게 도발체비 체죽숨 미게와 주당 창당 아니 초와다 넘버 체와시네 저 체숨나 도징 주발체비 최선라 유비 온디 체주루분 대당 대인제부 도드네 샤바인 송아다디.
So then the verse 24 concludes with a summary, and it says, such in summary is the Dharma of high status and its results. So this is an abbreviation, just a summation of what has gone above, where it says a summation of the causal relationship between abstention from the 13 things that are to be avoided, the 10 non-virtues, and then the 3 forms of misdeeds, misconduct, such as drinking and so forth, and then the 3 practices that a person should positively adopt, and those serve as the cause. Doing that Dharma serves as the cause for the high status rebirths, as well as the pleasures and so forth that are experienced within those rebirths. So this is just a summation of that, saying that thus these previously explained 13 practices that should be abstained from, one should turn away from them, and then one should practice engage in the 3 dharmas that are to be adopted and practiced. So those 16 in total, I have above explained in brief them, that is the practices themselves as well as their results.
Oh yeah, that enjeki 온도기 아니요 체 어때 주루보데 샤니 다 되게 가서라 엔텔라데네 책제와 치마 온들리된 쳐바자 온들리된 태양 가상 콘도시와 나신이 전에 다 원에 셰기 아니 주스미제 람 냠서 렘바기 된 쳐바자 가상 라룬디된 숨바자 람조주라 천이 참외 된 어텐데지 대양 안에 가서 간소래 개와 주말을 내 개와 주말은 단위 지신 개와 탐사도 나송만도 로봇동아이 깨내나서 나야 미제바 단조창에 밀리터가 쇼 전에 토다면 나라 모른다와 나신 전에 개와네 개와 탐조리 배 단조 그때 림바 규디 아니 다 라므림바 신도 거니다 두시티에디.
So here we've explained this as above, and it's as we've said previously, yesterday and before, that when one's doing this, one does it properly by thinking that this sort of objective, that is doing this kind of Dharma practice, and with the results that one is after, is an excellent form of life, high rebirth, with high status kind of life, as well as the good situations that one finds within that kind of life. These are done within the context of the stages of the path, such that one does this with the overall objective that one is wishing to have that kind of life, so to make it as a basis for continued progress along the path, so that we can gradually progress from this kind of life into an even better kind of situation for practice, such that we can go from being the basic level of practices into the intermediate level of practices, finally culminating in the highest level of practices of a bodhisattva. And so one does this dharma that's been explained thus far with the general perspective of wishing to improve oneself continually from life to life, and in order to progress through the different stages of the path to awakening.
Oh yeah, that give 단조지 된 규모를 톱니 된다 토담을 시와 나신 전이 다 가려 공고래잖아 아니 당엘이 타바다 탐제 쳔바 주베 당엘이 타바다 탐제 쳔바 주바 쳔바라 아니 엘레기 아니 군제 쳔바 엘레기 군제 니와 엘레기 군제 쳔바라 돌레 숨비 안 춘주당 대 아니 야베 라와 담바 스자월 라와 담바 그러나 다사제 마보도 되와 아니 다 야외 숨바테 가서래 돌레 숨주 되라 도된당 예전이 제 나도 맞두체 되네 도된바 되라양 아니 숨전이 시달 숨바당
So then, when one does that, you think, I'm going to work to do this practice so as to achieve a good rebirth in the next life. And we're doing this not as an end in itself, but rather as a basis for developing the higher stages of the path, such that one can achieve the highest good. Highest good here subsumes both the achievement of nirvana as well as the achievement of Buddhahood. So that's what we're ultimately, our ultimate objective is. And then, so the text then turns to the explaining the highest good in terms of both cause and effect, the causes that give rise to it and the results of those causes. And this has multiple subdivisions. First is how this is explained in the sutra, the way it's taught that way, and then the way, then following that will be that the king to whom this text was originally addressed should practice that as well. So the first of these is how it is explained in the sutra. There's a brief explanation of that, more extensive explanation, and then a summation of that. First comes the brief explanation that has multiple subdivisions too, how it's taught, how it is that one is able to distinguish between the wise and foolish, or those who are intelligent and those who are stupid with respect to the profound object here, which is emptiness, and give rise to terror with respect to it. In the case of less intelligent people are terrified by emptiness, and the more intelligent are not terrified by it. So the first of these is simply how the highest good is explained in the sutras themselves.
Oh yeah, that chida sumba ni wa le bi cheta jang chasin samon na wa tang chiwa thedam midan ba ta ba che ba gewe sum an gewe sum ba da do dim ba de ne wa le bi che chidang ele se na an tar ba o ko ko ya de 당 예바 레베 쳔디 세타데 예바 레바 타바 톱제 쳔 생예바 레바 타바 톱제 쳔 ngewa lebe che tang ngewa leba taba taba chebe che karere sana dame dobe sherab ki dame dobe sherab ji ene miba karere sana dame dato me batela kansa ke dato me bate che dame ni ye banane dame dobe sherab ji miba kansa da che kansa da che 아니 다시 품보라 소와기 아니 체 오늘 라신지 주와 다음에 봐 마라와도 마주바데 다음에 봐 타장 타마와 지우신 다 당당 타마위 지우야 또바가와 타냐비 셰바양 또바가와 차신스 가서 사무동반이 또비 참아대라 전단자위 참아고 인장 타냐비 셰바가 또바가신스 다들 조데 로야디 로라 토만자바게 람디 수순고아레 차신 어 현지 땡바 까바 현지 땡바베 사와르 안에 카바탈라야 나와타 안에 사무동반이 되나 몽바기 치와 태와다 미덴바라 짜바차바 안에 좀 된대지 숨바 어떤데 삼이 태코나 니니 어 어떤데 삼이 태코나니 어떤데 사무동반이데 교 가시기 또나 아니 태권 또네 아니 마시도 무슨기 사나테 텐자와데 아니 탑시 순도 지역권에 냠소 렘발라 때네 아니 타바쳐봐 내가 예상 원래세 테레스 같이 또나 타바쳐봐 제발라 내리지 셔서
So this next verse, verse 25, then explains the what is the highest good, which is being explained here, and this says, "But the victors said that the dharma of the highest good is the subtle and profoundly appearing. It is frightening to unlearned, childish beings." Victors is here an epithet, a name for the Lord Buddha, the Buddhas. And so here it says, how is it that the topic here is how the Buddha, victorious Buddhas have taught this to us in the sutras, in the scriptures. And so this verse then is explained in the commentary is that the dharma of which is the highest good. Here, this dharma is basically referring to liberation, the dharma which is to be attained, to be obtained, the dharma of liberation. And here, this is the object of the wisdom which understands selflessness. This dharma is itself the object, the thing which is observed by the wisdom that understands selflessness. And selflessness here refers to the selflessness of persons as well as the selflessness of phenomena. And this selflessness of persons and phenomena also is something which is extremely difficult for persons who have simply ordinary beings who that have merely conventional kinds of awareness. It's very difficult for them to understand it. Therefore, it's said to be subtle. Here, this is making the distinction between conventional awareness and a kind of awareness which is understands emptiness through reasoning. The awareness which understands emptiness through reasoning understands emptiness, whereas other forms of conventional awareness are not able to understand emptiness themselves because they're not the sort of reasoning awareness which is specifically specified here. So because other forms of conventional awareness are not in ordinary beings who have not developed that rational awareness that understands emptiness can't understand emptiness by means of their ordinary forms of awareness. Therefore, this selflessness is difficult to understand and thus subtle. And so it's said here likewise that it's because it's difficult for others to properly evaluate it, to basically to plumb the depths of it, and be able to evaluate the depth of it. It's said to be profound. It's given this name, profound. And this is even for the learned scholars and so forth. It appears profound because it's extremely difficult to plumb the depths of it. That others who have not gained that kind of understanding can't do it. And then for those who, childish kinds of beings who have not heard it properly, have not heard it and studied it properly, it terrifies them. And so the victorious Buddha has taught us that this is the case, that it is profound and frightening to those who have not studied it properly. Therefore, this reality, which is the profound dependent origination, is that which, if one understands it, it enables one to achieve liberation, and that is then the dharma of the highest good here, the dharma of the highest good. La.
Oh yeah.
La. Yeah, I could explain that, why I've chosen that later, but yeah.
Oh yeah. 다 된다지 여기서 시사서 치와 터와다 미덴발라 사모도 치바 사모동반이 되나 뭐마가 치와 아니 사모동반이 터와다 미덴발라 잡아 쳐봐 개외 송바 땡데삼이 태코나 니니세 강시 또나 타바 토바 쳐봐라 수가라 가서 강시 통외 태도바 땡진저와 중화송 땡지집에나 강시 통외 태도바 땡진저와 중화송 세대인바래 땡지삼이 태코나니 아니 요 강시게 또나 아니 타바 토바를 쳐봐 땡진저와 타바 토바 쳐봐 제발라 아니 내려지 최시 내려당 아니 내려지 최니 가가시네 내려 타발라 테네 아니 타바데 타바를 제발게 아니 톱지게 줘다 가서래 또 쓰는데 대인상 그러나 내려게 최시
So here we have to distinguish between what we're calling the highest good and the dharma of the highest good. Highest good as such is liberation itself, and whereas the dharma of the highest good is that which causes one to obtain that highest good. Here it's with reference to that which, if one understands it, and one realizes it, then it enables one to obtain the highest good. So the dharma of the highest good is referring to that, that which is understood, and then that understanding, realization serves as the agent which affects one's attainment of the highest good as such.
Oh yeah. That's it. I wrote that subject. Gachita Sumba, Kita, Kawada, Mombala, and it Tabakimiki Kapasha. Camola and Tabakimiki Chapadella, and it Tombani Tella, and it Shiva Taba. 캐와나 미잡이 치다 보시잖아. 나의 마이 예민줄 나의 예민 민주시 시와탄에 대다자 캐와탄에 잡아세 세상 동반이지 된담배 시와 미개와 같이 아니 다 가르서나 같이 대단하 나 여바 마이 세가나 가사다고 대 라시지 주와 여바 마이 세가나 아니 가사야 매바 주에 나 타다 여바 마이 바 주신叫我去叫我现在要把民主啦，아니 다 매바 인장 아니 다기 롱제자기 다기와 풍보야 여바 마이시 치장 여바 민주시 다단 다기와 다 라시지 주와 까베 아니 다 가서를 찾달라 손이 라시지 주나 마주나 아니 매고 그래서 찾다 도네 아니 시와 대단에 잡아라 시와탄에 대다 잘라.
So then the next verse, verse 26, explains how it is that the intelligent person is not a distinction between the intelligent, or you could say educated person versus the ignorant person. Here, the educated person is not frightened of this profound object, this profound object which we're talking about selflessness, whereas the ignorant person is frightened of this profound object, emptiness. So here the distinction between them is that the childish or ignorant person is terrified of the meaning of emptiness, whereas the learned or educated person is not terrified of that. How is that, if one wonders? Then the verse explains that. This is verse 26. It says, I am not, nor will I be. There is nothing that is mine, nor will there be. Stated thus, the teaching of selflessness terrifies the childish. For the wise, it puts an end to fear. And then the explanation of this is that when one teaches the meaning of emptiness, the childish, uneducated person, some of them at least, would have this kind of idea. They'd come to think that when they hear this teaching of emptiness, they think that the person, which is the basis for designating the I, doesn't exist. And if that person, which is the basis for the designation of the I, is non-existent, then I as such don't exist. So then they come to this misunderstanding that I don't exist now, I won't exist in the future, I don't exist at the present, I won't exist in the future. And then likewise, in future lives as well, I won't exist either. And then likewise, they would think that my aggregates, that is the components that make up the person, don't exist at present, and they won't exist in the future either. And these childish or ignorant people would have this kind of belief that, which is a sort of nihilistic belief, thinking that the teaching on emptiness entails that that the self or the I and that which belongs to the I or the self, it is completely annihilated and non-existent, and then they develop this kind of fear from their ignorant misunderstanding.
Oh yeah, they turned out they can't assume a chivanum, Tanzin Shiva Dancheba. Then the Devinana. Can't assume a chivana, Tanzin Shiva Dancheba, said this one. No, Karasungures and Tanzin Shiva Dancheba, saying, Chivanamna, only Rashi to Matua Dana, and the Cheta Yanga in Zang. And the Rashi true at the Dana, and the Tata 랑시지 추와 땡이자라 아니 탄진게 따와 되기 아니 치와 땡바 쳐봐 가도 쓰면 치와남 탄진 치와 땡 쳐봐 탄진 치와 땡 쳐봐 어디 대선 거래 치와 남나 랑시지 마주와 땡나 쳇다 송니 아니 다 샤사면도 다리와 샤사면도 레다 준다 샤사면도 어떠니 랑시지 추고래 랑시지 추마데다 탄진 시와 땡바 쳐봐 대치승화래 디텐다 디다 잡아서 강조 수면 치와나 탄진 치와 땡 쳐봐 대니 캐라 저와네 차와 말이 제비스고 세야데 캐와라네 장미사 잡아서 세야데 대ኳ나 요 콘도 집에 캐와라니 랑시지 동바 니지 아노 코아 뽕아당 타바타바 통어 냥도 잡아서바 주로
So this is, same point is explained also in the praise to dependent origination. There's a verse that says to the effect that something to the effect that if one this is something which when you explain it to a childish person, here is like an ignorant, uneducated person that is not learned in this topic. Then they're liable to fall into the extreme of nihilism. That is, they hold to things, childish persons hold that things exist by means of their own intrinsic nature. And if you tell them that things don't exist by means of their own intrinsic nature, they're liable to think that that would entail that things are completely non-existent. So they make that kind of mistake and fall into the extreme of annihilation. So thinking that if things don't exist by means of their own intrinsic nature, they're completely non-existent. They come to the misconception that that I don't exist, that which belongs to me is non-existent, and in that way fall into that extreme of nihilism. However, this same kind of teaching is that which actually dispels the fear of the wise or the learned person, the person who understands this properly. That is, that they understand that this absence of intrinsic nature it dispels one's fear rather than generating the fear of nihilism, as is the case with the sort of childish or the person who hasn't learned this properly.
Oh yeah, that did that.
So we'll stop there for today.
Yeah.